Today on the Topping Show, happy 4th of July, as we see Trump reacting to Zohran Mamdani winning the DNC primary for New York City's mayoral candidate. Matt Walsh brings up Zohran's stance on tearing down monuments. The Supreme Court rules parents do have the right to opt their kids out of programs that go against their morals, such as LGBTQ programs. Ram teases the idea of making a passenger van, while Volkswagen promises buttons and knobs will be coming back soon. And Ford, of course, has yet another recall, this time with their SUVs, might just burst into flames. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. Tease me, you see, that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Ram teasing the idea of bringing back a passenger van. Now this is back to us thanks to Motor1.com, specifically Chris Perkins, who's a writer over there, which he says, quote, Ram could start making passenger vans. After a brief retirement, Tim Kaczynski is back in charge of Ram and has ambitious plans. Is the passenger van going to be part of it? Here you can see the ginormous Ram logo, the size of, well, probably half my Honda Civic, give or take, so to say. And again, this is credited to Motor1.com, Chris Perkins. And they say, quote, just after 7 months of retirement, Tim came back to run the Ram brand, and already he has left a mark. He confirmed the brand is working on a new mid-size pickup truck to arrive in 2027, delayed their all-electric Ram pickup, which no one wants. Well, I added that part. They introduced the Hemi V8 for his half-ton truck, introduced a segment-leading powertrain warranty, and brought a brand to NASCAR in the truck series. Now he's teasing something unexpected, a new passenger van. Here you can see a little bit bigger there, the van, which no matter what logo is on the front of a passenger van, they always look creepy as hell, but that's just me. They say, quote, interview with CNBC on Ram and his comeback. Head teased the possibility of passenger van while also mentioning the previously announced midsizer. Kaczynski said the brand has over 25 announcements planned throughout the end of 2026. Ram already sells a van in the form of the ProMaster, but only has a cargo van with a maximum of 2 rows of seating in a quote-unquote crew configuration. Kia offers the ProMaster's European cousin, the Ducato, as a passenger van. Ram previously sold the smaller ProMaster City as a passenger van before discontinuing the model entirely in 2022, but perhaps Kaczynski is thinking about something more than a minivan. We reached out to the brand for more info. They know that, geez Louise, this is rough. Since 2019, Ram has faced a 39% overall decrease in sales, and all important, their 1500 lost significant market share in the half-ton pickup class, which, trying to get truck buyers to go from a good old American V8 and with Dodge, the Hemi, to a straight 6 twin turbo engine. Yeah, let's just say we're the only major of the big three, Ford, Chevrolet, well, also GMC, and Dodge Ram. If you're the only one that doesn't offer a V8 for the 1500 entry level truck, you're gonna lose. It's just a thing. A straight 6 with a turbo, that engine's great in a BMW. It's a great engine for a little sports car with a stick shift option. Obviously, I would prefer V8, but it's great for that platform. But for guys who like their trucks with a little more muscle to it, a little more American, we want the V8. The V8 is great. While it wasn't invented in America, we sure as hell perfected it. But I digress. Back to the article. They note that, again, their sales went down 39%. They also note that, quote, all this comes amidst wider struggles at Stellantis, which is attempting to turn things around after a disastrous tenure of former CEO Carlos Tavares. The NBC argues that Ram is one of Stellantis' most important brands, if not the most important, because of the profitability of pickup trucks, which, there's a reason they sell these pickup trucks. It's the most profitable thing that most major automotive companies sell. The amount of profit in them is almost comical compared to like an entry-level compact car. Now they say that, quote, right now there are only 3 players in the commercial passenger van segment, Ford with the Transit, Mercedes with the Sprinter, and General Motors with the Chevy Express and GMC Savannah. The minivan segment is stronger with the Chrysler Pacifica, the Honda Odyssey, Kia Carnival, Toyota Sienna, and Volkswagen ID Buzz. Although, let's be honest, no one is buying the ID Buzz these days. So it'll be interesting to see. This could help their commercial sales. A lot of businesses love these little vans for obviously great amount of square footage inside those things, very optimal for moving things around. It'll be interesting to see if they actually bring back their Dodge name in any mass level for these bigger vehicles. They seem to be leaning into the Ram with all the logos and all the branding, which again makes sense. It's one of the most strongest things in the whole portfolio. But yeah, Stellantis, if all things they need to focus on, it's this, because let's be honest, they're not selling a lot of Fiats in the United States these days. So I think this will be a good move by Ram and Stellantis. I think it'll probably be one of the more profitable things they do, especially if it has a gas engine, since again, they are still losing money on all the EVs they sell, like most major manufacturers. But let me know your thoughts and comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news: you have Volkswagen promising buttons and knobs are coming back. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Adrian Padiano over at Motor1.com. And they say, quote, Volkswagen swears buttons and knobs are coming back. Finally, some common sense, unquote. And here you can see the visually disgusting interior of a Volkswagen vehicle, which has two ginormous iPad-like screens and like one scroll bar button and maybe 4 total buttons. And the steering wheel, which, yeah, can't help but wonder how much of a pain in the ass that's going to be when inevitably there's a software issue or the screens break. Now, going to the article, they say, quote, Volkswagen interiors reached their peak in the mid-2010s when the cars had just the right amount of blend of buttons and screens. At the turn of the decade, minimalism really scared the ugly head of Volkswagen, as Volkswagen decided it was a good idea to integrate access to most functions into the screen. Ugh. The dreaded touch slider, which wasn't even illuminated at first, certainly didn't help either. Still, we're waiting to give VW a pass if it stays true to its pledge to bring back physical controls, which, of all the things I don't like about my Honda Civic, which is a short list, I hate the fact that they are so mentally vacuous that the volume adjustment on the main infotainment screen is a scroll. And awkward as hell. They knew they messed up, because in 2019 Honda Civic, that does have a volume knob. Every year, Honda Civic after 2018 brought back the volume knob. That's the one pet peeve I have about my car, even though there's a actual physical button for the volume on the steering wheel. But yeah, Volkswagen is not alone in the thought of let's just put everything in these screens. And again, there's also cost advantages, because physical buttons, that's more complexity, more cost, and more things that can break, as opposed to you put everything in a little computer, and everything in a little screen. And there's 1 point of failure, which is also a little bit more risk as well. Now, they say that, quote, the company's head of technological development told Autocar that a new dashboard design is in the works to rectify past mistakes. Kai Gruns explained that the upcoming updates for the ID3 and ID4 will introduce a revamped interior with a focus on a traditional switchgear. The ID2 all-concept previewed at VW's new approach, and while it's a step in the right direction, we're still craving for the layout using the Golf MK7. Which, scroll down, you can see that here, which that does look pretty good. Ugh, except for that disgusting thing in the middle of the car known as a automatic transmission. Ugh, so disappointing. It's a Golf. How dare they have an automatic transmission with like 2 pedals? But again, that's just me. They note that Gruns isn't the first high-ranking VW official to promise a return to old-school controls. Not long ago, design boss Adrius Mint shared details about the future interior direction. He said, quote, starting with the ID2 All, every model will have physical buttons for the 5 most important functions: volume, heating for both sides, fan control, and hazard lights positioned beneath the screen. These will be the standard across all VW future vehicles. Mint even went a step further to say that, quote, VW will never, ever make the mistake anymore. On the steering wheel, we will have physical buttons, no guessing anymore. There's feedback, there's real, and people love this. Honestly, it's a car, not a phone. Oh, here you can see one of those. Just when you think that automatic transmission gear selector is viscerally disgusting, which it's just a stick with a button on it, you move. They went even dumber, which also kind of reminds me of, what was it? The age-old, well, it's become a classic nowadays, but Tropic Thunder. Never go full R word. Which, yeah, in this vehicle looks like they have the transmission selector as a turn knob, which, oh God, Stellantis and Dodge do the same stupid thing, which I find peak mentally vacuousness, if that is a word. If it is, we just made it right now. Kind of like Shakespeare up in here making up words, but nevertheless. They say that according to Autocar, an insider has confirmed that a rotary knob for volume control will return to future models. Good. That same source indirectly admitted that eliminating conventional switchgear had been a misstep. They say, quote, if you develop something that works and it has worked for years, there's no reason to replace it. They say, unquote, VW Sorry, yet VW did just that by attempting to fix what wasn't broken. While EVs will lead the charge, combustion engine cars are also expected to reintroduce physical buttons. Realistically, through future VW's probability, won't offer many tactile controls as the previous generation Golf. Still, there's a reason for optimism. The facelifted MK8 Golf already features real buttons on the steering wheel for the GTI and R. In Europe, the GTR trim also ditched capacitive touch keys with the arrival of the MK 8.5. Hopefully, these long overdue return to traditional controls will rub off onto sister models from Skoda, Audi, and the rest of the VW gang. First 3 models with the updated interior are set to land in 2026. The production-ready ID2 and facelifted versions of the ID3 and ID4. So, yep, it'll be nice to see these things actually come back. Now, my concern is, will Volkswagen be around much longer? The CFO famously said about 12 months ago that VW has about 24 months of viability before it's no longer profitable. Now, again, that's VW specifically, not the VW group or Volkswagen group, which that group also has much more profitable, awesome things like Porsche, Audi, Bugatti, Tugatti, Lamborghini. They got a pretty good portfolio, and ironically, the Volkswagen one is actually the weakest of the bunch. So it's nice to see some physical buttons coming back. And let me know, is that a pet peeve of yours? Do you actually, I mean, heaven forbid, out of curiosity, does anyone out there actually prefer to have only the tablet for all your things? I kind of think one of the dumbest things was also, I believe this is Stellantis. Now, they actually almost hid the heated seat features, which is probably one of the few modern luxuries I enjoy, though one could argue it's not that modern since Cadillac was the first company to do that, I believe, in the 1960s. But nevertheless, it's an instance where to get to the heated seats, you have to go to a menu and a menu in the touchscreen. Or again, anyone with a modicum of intelligence would say, if you want heated seats, just jam one button one time, which I kind of love my Honda Civic SI. So let me know, are you one of the folks who prefer the physical buttons, or do you prefer the tablet? And do you think we'll see a trend or a ripple effect in the automotive community with more and more of them pivoting back to traditional buttons? Let me know your thoughts and comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Department podcast, you have Matt Walsh bringing up Zohran's citizenship and his stance on tearing down monuments. Now, this is in regard to Zohran, who's the new DNC frontrunner, or rather, he actually did won the primary for the mayoral candidate of New York City. Well, city, as they might call it. Now, Zohran, this is a tweet from 2020. He said, quote, 2017, New York City ordered the review of public works constituting symbols of hate for potential removal. But a statue of Columbus remains in Astoria in defiance of the values of humanity, empathy, justice we stand for. It has to go. Sign the petition. And that was so mentally vacuous, only 226 morons agreed with him on June 15th, 2020. Which, yeah, you say a lot of things about Trump, but he was right. Years ago, Trump did warn, once you start tearing statues down of Confederate soldiers, there'd be nothing left because there'd be the ripple effect. And Democrats, I mean, they just keep pushing. They have no limitation on what they want in terms of tearing down, destroying history. And lo and behold, yep, they started with the Confederate statues. Then they soon were so mentally vacuous. I'll never forget, I believe it was during the George Floyd BLM Summer of Love riots. They actually tore down a statue of it bogs my mind, Frederick Douglass. I also can't speak very well. Who, again, was a famous African-American abolitionist and historical figure. And yet they tore down his statue. Now, Matt Walsh responded to Zohran, saying, quote, Madamami became a U.S. citizen in 2018. 2 years later, he was already working to tear down monuments of our historical icons. This incredible ignorance and entitlement of whiny, ungrateful brat. Unquote. That got about 1 million views and 30,000 likes, which, yeah, I would never vote for anyone who wants to tear down statues, but again, I'm obviously a fan of history. Now, Barefoot Pregnant responded saying, quote, citizenship is a privilege, respect the country, don't rewrite its history. Getting 38, let's make it 39 likes. Can't help but think, how much of this craziness could be maybe decreased in frequency if we had people actually read 1984 by George Orwell. Probably one of the best books in history. It's definitely not a happy book, but yeah, in the book, they frequently note how the big government would tear down historical things to erase it and rewrite history. The flag guy also says, quote, Ilhan Omar is the same. America needs to stop allowing immigrants to use and abuse our great country. Getting 304 likes. MWW says, quote, calling for him to be deported by Israeli first members of Congress couldn't be more retarded. Is strengthening his hand and making him sympathetic. What? Mentally vacuous, but it did get 186 likes. Pork Off says, quote, so citizens aren't allowed to use their rights to make America with better place by not having because hero worship for people who did awful things. You have no issue with Elon tearing down the constitutional norms of congressional powers, but when a brown man does it, you have an issue, unquote. Extremely mentally vacuous, getting 130 likes, though. Wonder if he was ratioed. Dina responded saying, quote, "It's not about race. I'm brown and I'm a legal immigrant and I 100% don't support Zohran. Socialism will never work in America. Why don't y'all go back to your home country and make a regime change, not here in the U.S.?" Getting 4 likes. Make it 5. Pork off is pissed. He says, quote, "Why don't you? I was effing born here." Yes, he's pretending he's not American because he's of his effing race and religion. STFU. Thanks to the Urban Dictionary, I do know what some of that stuff means. E says, quote, if it was that quick, you would wonder if the people were brought here out of intention to destroy polite white society. Obviously, getting 173 likes. Dan Smith responded saying, quote, "Polite white society, give me an effing break, you slack-jawed rube." It's not a Scrabble word, I don't think, but that's a pejorative term you don't hear every day. That's a little unique there, Mr. Dan Smith. Which, yeah, I think the main issue is, tearing down history, destroying history. He's a socialist, and this Zohran guy also wants to ban guns, too. And also defund the police, and also let everyone out of prisons. Scrolling down more and more. Robert Spudis says, quote, "I think all these people have been purposely planted here to destabilize our country, like the Germans did to Russia during World War I. They sent in Lenin, whom they had in prison, to destabilize. They wanted Russia sidelined. Here you have a picture of Representative Ilhan Omar saying, quote, in my country, I'm forced to keep my mouth shut. But here, I'm free to talk trash about this country in hopes I can change it to the country where I'm forced to keep my mouth shut." In 29, let's make it 30 likes. It's ironic to see the way some people vote in terms of, oh yeah, they want women liberation, but they also want Sharia law. What? Yeah. Tony Tony says, quote, "We need to deneutralize. I'm not pronouncing that right. All brown invaders and bring back Naturalization Act of 1790. Getting 62 likes, which, again, I don't think this has anything to do about race. It's all about the values. I have friends from all over the world who's come to the United States legally, and they have all backgrounds. They look different, and they all share the founding fathers' morals and values. They're all patriots. A lot of them escaped communistic hellholes, so they usually are the ones who most frequently do not vote for socialism and communism. There's a reason when my mom's family came here from Cuba, you'll never see a Cuban flag in their gosh darn yard. They vote very much to not have communism replicated in the United States. Now, Brotherhood says, quote, this is why it's a joke to consider any person with documents as American. It's so much more than we're only now seeing the absurdity. Gave 48 likes. Quad Kari says, quote, "Yo, Matt Walsh blog, your racism is showing today. There's a statute that says Republicans, Democrats are the slave owners. Republicans never own states. Democrats were taking down monuments. Republicans leave our heritage alone." Gave 57 likes. Which again, what was it? 1.6% of the U.S. population owned slaves in the 1730s? I forget the statistics, but it's shockingly low compared to what people perceive. Again, I think Republicans usually more often than not, well, they're the party that usually respects history more often. And I'm not in favor of tearing down any of these historical figure statues. Edward Shepard says, quote, "Imagine taking citizenship as a gag order and Columbus as a moral compass. The founding fathers have been tarred you for worshiping a monarchist explorer." Getting 64 likes. Nothing more hilarious than people who say it was a bad thing Columbus discovered America, which did not even invent the wheel by the time he arrived here, or domesticate horses. Yeah. If you have any piece of technology or any semblance of pretty much modern culture in your life, you should be thankful that Christopher Columbus came here and started the process that would make the United States the strongest country on the planet. With more innovation, research, development, and founding of companies and artists, musicians than anywhere else on the planet. I mean, shoot. Pretty much everything around us wasn't made in the USA nowadays, but is engineered and designed more often than not in the United States. So it looks like, I want to say Matt Walsh, maybe about 50-50 split. Wasn't ratioed, but he did get, some people cheering for him, some people going against him. But yeah, let me know. Are you a fan of people tearing down modern monuments in general? And again, Zohran Zohan, because I think it's funnier to mispronounce it that way. I mean, this is a tweet from 2020. Maybe he claimed he's changed since then. I mean, I don't think so. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part podcast, Donald Trump reacting to Zohran being elected to the DNC, or rather winning the DNC primary for the mayoral candidate in New York City, which, I awkwardly said that. Apologies. This brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. He says, quote, "Trump on Zohran Mamdani. Terrible for the country. He's a communist." Yep.
Someday gets elected. I can't believe that's happening. That's a terrible thing for our country, by the way. He's a communist. We're going to go to a communistic state. That's so bad for New York. But the rest of the country is revolting against it.
Yeah, but it might spread like a virus. And again, just when you think New York City can't get any worse, I'm guaranteed this guy will make it worse, Zohran. And again, he didn't win yet. The actual election is in November, but he won the Democrat primary, and it's a 2-to-1 ratio of Democrats versus Republicans in New York City. And let's be honest, are they really going to learn to vote differently in a couple months? I can't help but see a lot of parallels between places like Chicago, which has voted Democrat for almost 100 years, and every year it gets worse when it comes to crime, poverty, murders, businesses leaving because of taxation, overregulation, people leaving. Kind of like San Francisco, Minneapolis. I don't see New York changing anytime soon, although I hope they do. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to Cash Loren saying, quote, New York could not elect a communist to become the next mayor of their once great city, getting 12 likes, which, again, the odds are they will. Democrat Media TM says, quote, he's worse than a commie, gained 39 likes. And I forget what Islamic Guard, what is that shirt that he wears on? I don't know the vernacular for all the trending outfits they wear. Gained 39 likes. Paul Zupa says, quote, Mariami is a jihadist too, gained 36 likes. Still Learning says, quote, calling someone a communist without context is lazy political branding. Let's debate politics, not labels. Which, again, earlier this week actually did go into the many tweets and policies of Zohran. And yeah, they're very socialistic. It got 12 likes. Make Men Great Again says, quote, Trump called it straight. Madamani's policies reeks of Marxism. America is not buying the red ribbon of socialism. Gained 41 likes. And you say that, but they voted for him over. I mean, he won the primary. Scroll down more and more. The Volt has a picture of the donkey logo in the 1860s saying, quote, without slaves who will pick the crops. The new one of the DNC logo is 2020 says, quote, without illegals who will pick the crops. Gained 16 likes. One of the most popular comments comes to us thanks to Solaniath saying, quote, people who express communist viewpoints can be deneutralized and deported under the Communist Control Act of 1954. Trump must deport Zohran Mamdani back to Uganda. There's a clear legal precedent for this move. Action like this are necessary to save America. They got 143 likes, which, I mean, a lot of his policies are direct antithesis of the founding fathers. 163 likes, going up like a stock. You also have Mirthful Moments saying, quote, Zohran Mamdani is pro-terror, pro-chaos, pro-jihad, is a communist, will defund the police, will bankrupt New York City, which that's another thing he's greatly critiqued for a couple years ago when he was all about defunding the police. He's very much a big fan of basically having no cash bail, wants to get, completely, just open up the prisons, let everyone out. That also got 14 likes. Mr. Pitbull, though I don't suspect his actual singer unless he has a disproportionate amount of time in his hands to tweet, he says, quote, single childless women are one of the most destructive voting blocs in the USA. Soccer mom is losing ground to the single woke female. In 2020, of the childless cat ladies who voted, 42 million, 70% of their vote went to Democrats and their vision for trans world. 8 likes or 11 likes. That's going up like a CrowdStrike stock, though. Again, not financial advice. But yeah, if you look at voting blocks and who voted mostly for Trump and shifted from 2020 to 2034, yeah, liberal white women were a huge area, as well as retirees or boomers. Those are two segments where, really they went hard on Kamala Harris, which is something she's never heard in her life. Now, Isaac also says, quote, it's a real shame that the working class is voting against Mariami, but the leeches and the extremely rich are voting for Mariami, almost like only leeches and people that breadlines won't affect are going to decide how the rest of the city lives, getting 5 likes. Yeah. Well, I mean, you keep voting for free. I mean, it's one of those things where I actually do think there should be a debate on if you're not a net tax contributor, you're only taking from the government, you're only taking from society with government handouts, do you deserve to get a vote? I mean, they're just going to keep voting for a bigger government to give them more and more free stuff from the people who do work, and they steal from the people who do work. I think no politician is brave enough to actually bring that topic up, left or the right, but I certainly think it's worth discussing. You have the Mirthful Moments saying, quote, Zohran is every woke Karen's fancy, anti-Christian, anti-Western, anti-Trump, ready to raise taxes and push child mutilation as policy. New York deserves better leadership, getting 7 likes. Mr. Pitbull says, invoke now. And he has a quote from the Communist Control Act. It says, quote, the Communist Control Act is a piece of United States federal legislation signed into law by President Dwight Eisenhower on 24th of August, 1954, which allowed the Communist Party of the United States and criminalized membership in or support for the party or communist action organizations and defined Evidence to be considered by a jury determining the participation activities. Planning and planning. Drops off there. Getting 14 likes. Amelia Henderson, she says, quote, he's a foreign asset sent to destroy America's values and destabilize one of the largest cities in the world. Deport him now, getting 19 likes. Oh, let's be honest, that shitty's been, I would argue it's been pretty destabilized for a couple of years. We'll see if it gets any better, but I'm not too optimistic. Sovereign Mind says, quote, Democrats, we're not communists. Democrats define communist. Democrats, we don't hate the Constitution. Also, Democrats, okay, we'll take full-on communists and aim to destroy the U.S. Getting 14 likes. So, yeah, I think Trump's certainly got enough media power. We can get the message out there to not vote for this guy. But again, I'm just so pessimistic in terms of, I mean, is there really going to be a big Republican turnout in New York City? I'm pretty pessimistic, but let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have a clip of Zohran saying that he wants to basically empty the jails, going viral on social media. The new NYC Mayoral Candidate for New York City. That's brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, which he has a little clip here. There's Zohran right there in those really effeminate looking puffy jackets.
Oftentimes, we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction. And we have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence. That is violence at the highest.
Enforcing the law is violence. We just need to reword anything and change the definitions of things. Again, reference to 1984. Yeah. So it's almost as if the Democratic Party or leftism just read that book and thought, let's take that evil government, make it bigger and more evil, and we'll just do everything they do. So many other policies have parallels directly to that work of art, that literature book. I was going to say this uniform, or this, it's a little bit hotter than usual today with the wig and everything on, but I will persevere. I'm not delusional yet. The sweat isn't come down, is it? No, I'm kidding. But now, that went pretty well. I got 6.1 million views. And yeah, the term I was searching for was newspeak, which is the word in the book for, yeah, basically rewording everything so words change definitions and they beat you into submission to say that 2 + 2 = 5. Or nowadays, Democrats say girls are boys and boys are girls. Now, Gunther Eagleman responded saying, quote, shouldn't Mamdani be deported? Getting 5.7 thousand likes. Nick Sorter says, quote, cut off all diplomatic and economic ties to Uganda until they come pick up their boy, Mamdani, getting 2,000 likes. So let's be honest, I'm not sure how much importation of goods and services we get from Uganda. Maybe some clothing. Now, Paul Zupa says, quote, Mamdani doesn't want anyone to see this. Same reason he deleted his post when he called for defunding the police. Getting 1.4 thousand likes. Wow, this one got 10,000. Bruce Witt says, quote, he's a foreign asset sent to destroy America's values and destabilize one of the largest cities in the world. Deport him now. They got 10,000 likes. Sheepdog Society LLC says, quote, you know what? Sometimes you should just gotta let the kid touch the hot stove. If the commie gets elected mayor, it's the end of New York City. It will be a free fall for all violent, drug, and crime-ridden dystopian nightmare. This is what they voted for. This is what they get. It's an equivalent to F around and find out, getting 3.7 thousand likes. Now, the sad part is the folks in the minority that are not voting for him will have to deal with the fallout of this. I mean, again, there are some Republicans in New York City. There's a couple of them. And again, it's going to be the folks, they're going to be hit hard. Especially the folks, ironically, the folks that vote for him are probably the ones that are going to be hurt the most or with the greatest frequency. You also have Shara Farish saying, quote, you get what you vote for. Glad I don't live near that hellhole anymore. To any liberal fleeing New York City, Tennessee is closed, getting 1,000 likes. Mr. Pitbull, back from the Hotel Holiday Inn, I believe, says, quote, LOL, that's only something a privileged liberal would say. Imagine telling the family of a, abuse victim or a murder victim that the crime is a, quote, artificial construct. Hollow and weak individual. Zohran getting 713 likes. May says, quote, he's absolutely insane. New York City is about to get what they voted for. Enjoy, getting 2.7 thousand likes. Global Report says, quote, New York is about to become a shithole, getting 774 likes. The community notes would probably say, it'll get shittier. A lot of people would argue it's been on the downtrend for a while. believe that's the same city where they give illegals $300 vouchers per night for hotel rooms. Dissident West said, quote, this guy would be less dangerous if he actually, this guy would be less dangerous if he actually was the Sharia law type instead of the radical race communist, getting 2.3 thousand likes. Alpha Fox simply says, criminals love this guy, getting 578 likes. Ryan simply says, the scum of humanity is not capable of leading anything. New York is beyond screwed, getting 1.2 thousand likes. James says, quote, an artificial construct is a foreigner coming to the United States to become a citizen by swearing to support and defend the Constitution and the U.S. laws, and then proceeding to subvert the Constitution and seek positions of authority over Americans. He has highlighted a quote here. It says, quote, the citizenship oath, also known as the oath of allegiance, is the final step in naturalizing process to become a U.S. citizen. It is a pledge for individuals to renounce allegiance to any foreign power and swear to support and defend the U.S. Constitution and laws. The oath is administered during naturalization ceremony, typically held in a formal setting. Gained 1.5 thousand likes. I mean, in theory, that means Representative Ilhan Omar swore this. I'm sure as hell. Her policies and her statements sure as hell seem like she never did. I am one equal God math. Very interesting profile name says, quote, New York City in 2001, we'll never forget. And then New York City in 2025, elects Muslim jihadists, gained 1.3 thousand likes. Mr. Common Sense says, quote, rapper 50 Cent offered Zohran $258,000 to get lost after Madiami name dropped him. Got 2,000 likes. Nick's Dank Memes, A plus for marketing. He did it, in fact, respond in meme form, said, quote, good luck, New York City. And it's a crazy liberal girl. Says, quote, women are not safe in America. The streets are too dangerous for us to even walk alone. And she says, oh my God, Zohran. And he says, defund the police. Getting 713 likes. Yep. You also have Jeff Sheets say, quote, are the people of New York City this stupid? Getting 857 likes. Yes, but also there's a lot of people that are immigrated to New York City from his countries and share his values. I mean, I think Matt Walsh went viral earlier for noting that the immigration rate in New York City is like 43%-ish of people who are born in other countries and moved to that area. Rhino80 says, quote, deport Ilhan Omar, getting 397 likes. Miles says, what's his alternative to jails then? Well, nothing. He just wants them in the streets, getting 200 likes. Not a single person sticking up for him thus far. David Santa Clara says, quote, can we just stop pretending like he's not pandering specifically to black people here, getting 993 likes? I mean, I don't think that's only who he's talking to. He's talking to pretty much anyone who wants a weak justice system, wants criminals on the streets. Make Men Great Again also says, spoken like someone who's never been mugged. Fantasy politics get real people hurt, getting 208 likes. Yep. The things that make you go, says, quote, or as a meme, says Islam, turning every single country it touches into a shithole for over 1,400 years, getting 627 likes. One or two more here. Mindy M.F. Robinson says, quote, it's not so, quote, quote, artificial when it stabs and robs you, getting 931 likes. Yeah, I'm scrolling. I mean, reading as many comments as I can. Can't find a single contrarian one yet. We'll do one more. Rhino80 has a picture of Robert Downey Jr. from the iconic movie Tropic Thunder. Saying, quote, well, can I? I don't know if I can do his voice. Probably can't. But I'll attempt. It is a holiday after all. You never go full retard, straight into Democrat. Sorry, you ran straight, fast, full retard, straight into Democrat. Which, perhaps that's the worst Robert Downey Jr. impression you've heard all year, but I went for it nevertheless. That got 170 likes. Well, not my impression of him, but that MMA did. Distance also said, quote, it's an Islamic and African construct, getting 405 likes. So we'll see how much he uses this in his campaign materials. He's trying to get elected, and maybe a lot of people will appreciate he wants to basically let people out of jail and rewrite the laws and rewrite definitions of acts. So, not really violent. We'll see what happens, but let me know in the comments, because it's always be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, the United States Supreme Court rules parents are allowed to opt their kids out of controversial things that go against their morals, such as LGBTQ programs. This is brought to us thanks to Libs at TikTok, in which she says, quote, Secretary of Education Mahon on the huge Mahon versus Taylor ruling, or Mahood versus Taylor ruling.
The Supreme Court ruling in Mahmoud versus Taylor is not only a win for religious liberty, but parental rights. Parents have the right to know what their children are learning at school and to exercise their First Amendment freedom of religion to opt out of divisive and ideological lessons that go against their family's values and beliefs. The court rightfully held that schools cannot shut parents out or disregard their religious obligations to their children. We are proud to see families, not bureaucrats, reclaiming their role in raising their children according to their sincerely held religious beliefs.
Which is probably the best thing from the Department of Education in decades, though, yes, that bar is comically low. And this is great news. Another scary thing is when teachers' unions and teachers want to obfuscate the truth and hide what they're teaching your kids. And you have laws like California where they actually pass a law saying, oh yeah, teachers are allowed to hide information about your kids when it comes to things like what classes they're taking or transitioning topics or grooming them by encouraging them to use their pronouns and stuff like that. So it's a rare good win for parental rights, and I would argue much more in line with the founding fathers had in mind. I also think, we should just get rid of the Department of Education altogether and relegate that to local freedom, but best bets are usually homeschooling. Now, this thing did not go as viral as I thought it would. Got about 44,000 views. Now, Paul Zupa came in saying, quote, "Macron is great. She's strongly leading our children's education back towards sanity," getting 16 likes. One of the best, most brilliant men of our time, Thomas Sowell, is a quote from The Vault, quoting him, saying, quote, "The fact that crime and poverty are correlated is automatically taken to mean that poverty causes crime, not similar attitudes or behavioral patterns may contribute to both poverty and crime," getting 3 likes. Joey FAFO says, quote, "No more gay flags in classrooms and no more grooming. Huge win," getting 16 likes. Which kind of creepy when there's more pride flags in classrooms than American flags, especially in places like California. The Vault also has a picture of, or AI, of course, Abraham Lincoln pointing to a picture saying, quote, "The shadow government is treason," getting 5 likes. Close the Dip says, quote, "Gay teachers when being told they have to give the kids back to the parents," getting 1 like. Moderate to Severe says, quote, "It's a beautiful thing, so grateful for this," getting 2 likes. Maggot and Cheese simply says, "Leave our kids the F alone." Janet says, quote, "Education Secretary Mahone nails it. The Mahmoud versus Taylor ruling is a big win for parents, putting families back in charge of their kids' upbringing, not bureaucrats. Religious freedoms and parental rights get a major boost." And 4 likes. Yep. Uhish Bahari says, quote, "Parents back in the driver's seat exactly where they belong," getting 2 likes, which, yep. Probably one of the best silver linings when it comes to the pandemic was the online learning allowed parents to see into the classrooms and see the horrifying things that they're teaching kids these days. Sagis Alternia says, quote, "The ruling is a triumph for parental sovereignty, shattering the left's grip on the indoctrination of kids and woke ideology. Families, not faceless bureaucrats, should shape the minds of youth. Trump's unwavering support for religious liberty laid the groundwork for this victory, unlike Biden's push for radical curricula. This decision exposes the left's hypocrisy. They champion diversity, but silence devout parents. Schools must respect faith-based opt-outs, not force-feed divisiveness narratives. The conservative fight for education freedom is winning, proving our values resonate. Let's keep dismantling the progressive stranglehold." And it says, "Join the battle for the truth and follow," who is this? Sagiza Eterna, spelled Saggezza and Eterna. They describe themselves saying, quote, the world is in peril as a result of information warfare against Western civilization." They got 57,000 followers. I'll give them a follow. MegaFan1776 simply says, "This is a big win for parental rights," getting 4 likes. Agreed. We also have Sean Parry having a May of the bathroom guy, or I forget what we call the logo of the bathroom guy. And he's kicking another one, but the other one's rainbow color. It says, "Pride Month, F off, no one cares," getting 1 like. Which, yeah, it was fascinating to see the juxtaposition of Pride Month in 2024 juxtaposition to 2025. LinkedIn alone, the number of flags and companies changing their logos dropped by over 90%. It was astronomical, the difference. So that's some great news finally. And yeah, let me know. It's one of those things where, unfortunately, I'm always a big advocate of homeschooling. I think you should never trust the state of the government to, teach your kids morals, values, to have them for so many hours of the day. However, I also know a lot of folks, especially because of the inflation that was caused by Democrats and Republicans, many people are forced to have dual parents working. just to make ends meet. So they have to use public schools almost as basically glorified babysitting instance for the child, as well as to teach them some things. So it's one of those things where I understand, you have to go to school, but I still highly recommend homeschooling, or even just at a local community school where you have more of a direct impact on what they're learning. You actually see the curriculum. This is a rare but great win for parental rights. Now, the real question is, how will leftist states and how will leftist teachers continue to try to subvert this, or basically continue to break the law? Well, now break the law and push things about kids. I can't but think they're not going to go out silently. I mean, you have when Trump passed the law about the gay pride flag on federal buildings, you had some states actually redefining the gay flag, saying it's a part of who they are and trying to reclassify it. So they're not going to take this lightly, so to say. It'll be interesting to see how they respond. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. I'm going over to the business blunder of the day of Ford recalling the Escape SUV because, whoops, it might just catch fire. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Sean Trecker at kellybrewbook.com, in which they say, quote, Ford recalls Escape Bronco Sport over, whoops, fire risk. I'm sorry, I should have put a visual disclaimer on this part of the show. You have to see a Ford Escape. Ugh. Or when I used to work for a tech company before I started my own company, we used to jokingly call them the Ford Escape to sound fancy, because that would be the company car if you're a field sales representative and you paid them a couple $100 for that privilege. Now, going to the article, they say that, quote, Ford has issued a recall for 404 Escape SUVs from the model years 2023 to 2025 and Bronco sports SUVs from the model year 2025 because of an engine oil leak could trigger a vehicle fire, which, geez Louise, is slightly more than halfway through the year. I think they're up to 80 recalls now with Ford. It's astonishing they're still in business, almost impressive despite all that. Now, they say that, quote, the company told federal safety regulators an error in the heat treatment left some 1.5 3-cylinder engines with cylinder heads could become more brittle than specified. This could cause the heads to crack, losing their ball plugs. Oil could then splash out on the hot engine parts, potentially causing a fire. How do you mess up the most important part of the engine, or debatably the most part of the engine? The cylinder? You messed that up. Jeez Louise. A cylinder head, sorry. They say the drivers might see an oil pressure warning light or notice a burning smell or casual noise as the problem develops, which it doesn't help much because most Ford cars do that by default. I'm only partially kidding. You say that thankfully, well, there's a silver lining in the situation. Ford is not aware of any injuries or accidents related to the problem, but has received at least one warranty claim against it. They say that dealers will replace the cylinder heads to fix the problem, and they also know that repairs are always free, or recall repairs are always free, to be more specific. But yeah, that's definitely not great because that's good, it's free, but everyone hates it. The consumer hates it because now you have to take your vehicle in, and this is not a quick software fix. It's just the heart of the engine they gotta mess around with. And Lord knows how much crap they bolt onto engines these days. It'll take the technicians extra long time to actually get this thing apart. But again, the dealerships hate this because they get what they call warranty work pay rate, which is significantly discounted compared to the regular work that they can do on the vehicle. And that's where a lot of dealerships make a majority of their profits, is actually on the warranties and maintenance and the other upselling that they do. And the consumer hates it because they got to go to a Ford dealership, which, let's be honest, no one wants to do that. And now your vehicle might be down for maybe a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks as they try to repair it. And heaven forbid they give you a loaner car, which is also Ford, so maybe that's not going to last too long. But yeah, it's definitely not great news. So yeah, having yet another recall, gotta say, Ford, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you again, everyone, for taking the time to tune in, especially on 4th of July. And again, I want to say thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. I was going to say, any feedback is always greatly appreciated. Leave a comment, and it might take me a little while, but I always take the time to respond. Don't forget to take the time to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And as always, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.